Hello, it's Roger Royce with our 2021 gubernatorial recall race candidates forum. I'm here now with Brandon Ross. Brandon is a physician and an attorney in La Mesa, California, down by San Diego. Thank you for being here with us today, Brandon.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wonder if we could start. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your campaign.
Yeah, my name is Brandon Ross, Dr. Ross. I'm a physician, an attorney. I'm a native Californian. I'm a moderate Democrat, and just kind of running for this election because I think the recall is a bad idea. I don't think it should go through. I think there should be a Democrat on the ticket just in case it does. And that's really why I'm running, because I wanted there to be somebody that could take over in case Governor Newsom's recalled.
Okay, got it. So maybe we could go into a couple of the issues here, or a few of the issues that seem to be important to Californians, and then some that are important to you. And I think we'll just start out with you're a doctor and a lawyer, and I think it'd be good to start out with what seems to be a key issue for you, and that's the opioid crisis in California right now, and what the state should be doing about that. Can you comment on that?
Yes, definitely. It's very important to me, and just just so everybody is aware, I had an opioid addiction myself. I was very successful. I was an attorney. I was not an attorney yet. I was a physician. Had a successful office, marriage, kids. Lost it all. I had a back injury at one point. I started taking Vicodin for my back, and I couldn't stop taking it. It was the hardest thing I've ever dealt with. I never thought it could happen to me. I started taking it, and for years I would try to stop, and I just couldn't. Ultimately, it progressed, and I got worse and worse, and I lost everything. I lost my career, my marriage. I lost custody of my kids, and everything else. And so that was a while ago. I entered recovery a little over 7 years ago. Got my kids back, rebuilt my office, and everything's going great for me now. I went to law school, became an attorney as well. So it's very important to me personally to deal with the opioid crisis. California has over 3,000 people die of overdoses of opioids per year. And then times that by 100 of the amount of people that are affected by people, family members who have an opioid problem. And so this has to be addressed. And right now there's a lot of sort of punishment of people that have addictions. And what should be happening is money should be directed into rehabilitating these people, making free services available to them, to give them the tools to be able to recover. I was one of the lucky ones. Not everybody recovers, but everybody could recover if they had the right kind of help. And that's what people need when they're suffering from addiction a lot of times, is just help to get through it. So if we could, there's going to be a lot of money coming into California from, already we have $70 billion surplus in California, according to Governor Newsom. And we're going to get a lot more from these settlements with the big pharma companies that helped create the drug problem to begin with. Well, they're settling now. And so they're having billions of dollars funneled into different states. That money should be used to help the people that need it the most. Get them the care they need, and a lot of them will recover and rebuild their lives like I did. So that's what I believe on opioids.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, let's get into a couple of the other issues. I think one of the biggest ones that's on everybody's mind here in California is what's going on with the rise in crime. And I saw, in fact, just this morning, the governor just allocated additional resources to Oakland because they really seem to be under siege. How do you feel about that? Is the governor doing enough? Is there more that you would do? Is there something we should be doing different to deal with what seems to be more crime in California right now?
Yeah, this is a greup question. There was, we had a record low, oops, that's not my picture. We had a record low amount of crime up until a few years ago, and it really started to get out of control in the last few years. We had, a lot of this, I think, is from the COVID virus. I think that's exacerbated the situation. We had all these people that were desperate, didn't have jobs, didn't have money, couldn't go anywhere, isolated. And so I think that built up a lot of pent up frustration. And I think people were desperate because they didn't have money. And I think people started to get robbed and create more crime. So I think some of this resolves by itself once the pandemic ends, which is hopefully soon. And then also there is a lot more racism and divisiveness under the Trump administration. And I think, I'm glad he's gone. And I think that some of that will start to clear up as well. But right now there's a lot of hate crimes there weren't as many a couple of years ago. And I think we should strive to be more unified and be as one in California and see where we can all find common ground and get together. Crime wise, as far as fighting it, I think that there needs to be some criminal justice reform. Right now, there's a lot of resources going to low level crimes. And I think there shouldn't be so much punishment of these crimes, it should be a lot more probation and education. Whereas I think we should focus more on violent crimes. Violent crimes is what scares everybody the most anyway. And if we pumped resources into prosecuting violent offenders to the full extent of the law and keeping them, let them do their full time. Don't let them out early. Also, there's too many guns on the streets. There needs to be some gun reform. I'm in favor of universal background checks and closing the loophole that allows people to buy guns at gun shows without having any kind of background check. So I think if we do those things, that gets more guns off the streets and out of the hands of people who are going to use them, violently or to commit crimes. I think lastly on this, there needs to be more money spent on the youth, and I think there needs to be more money, more subsidies to public after school programs and education, so we can give these kids that are just growing up and coming of age the tools they need to be successful members of society and not turn to a life of crime.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that. Another big issue, of course, that's all over the papers is just these wildfires. They just seem to be out of control, and they affect a big part of the state and a lot of Californians. Is the state doing the right thing? Is it doing enough? What would you do differently?
Well, I mean, this is a big issue. Wildfires, a lot of it is, climate change is real, and the temperature is going up and all across the globe, and it affects California just like it affects everywhere else. And it makes it so that there are hotter days, drier air leads to more fires. There's less water reserves. We've got a drought. And so now, as opposed to, many years ago, we have a fire season that starts way earlier, like a month earlier, and it extends like, 15 days, I think, beyond what it used to extend. So it's another month and a half long fire season than we used to have. And a lot of that is the new conditions that are created by global warming. So I think in a macro sense, we need to address global warming. California is already one of the best at doing that. But I think, this is a team effort. We've all got to pitch in to fight this. And so I think we have to continue to incentivize people, because people respond to incentives. So incentivize them to continue to buy the electric cars, the hybrid cars, put in solar panels. I think we need to keep funding wind power, renewable sources of energy, so we can conserve on that and then conserve on water. Let's make it even cheaper to use water and electricity in the middle of the night. If somebody's going to save, 2/3 of their electric and water bill by watering their lawn in the middle of the night or using their appliances in the middle of the night, well, then let's do that. You can raise the price a little bit during the day and lower it way down at night, so people can, they can be more responsible about how they use their water and electricity to conserve. And these are ways to, for overall to get rid of reduce the impact of climate change. But in the meantime, fires are real and they're happening right now. And what we need to do is we need to make more fire breaks. I had a patient the other day that was he's a firefighter, and so I was picking his brain a little bit. But he was saying, look, more fire breaks. Let's hire people to make breaks in the areas where big fires will take over. Make a big area where it won't burn anymore, so the fire burns out without continuing to expand. So more fire breaks. And he suggested creating a state-sponsored task force where every house would get a visit from somebody on this task force somebody would go there, they're educators, and they would knock on your door and say, hey, look, this is voluntary, but if you'd like, we'd be happy to go through your yard and your house and show you what things you can do to avoid fires. And a lot of people will say, no, I don't want you in my house. But some people will say, yeah, you know what, come on back. And so that person would go in, look around the yard, say, look, you got a tree over there that looks like it's dead. You should probably take that out. And over here, you got some brush right there and it's right next to your grill. So, maybe clear that brush away, stuff like that. It's common sense, but a lot of people don't know that. And so if there was a task force that went door to door and voluntarily, told everybody what they could do if they want to, I think that would help out a lot. And then we need more firefighters for one, and then we need to start cleaning up the forests a little bit better. Most of the forest in California is federally owned, so I think the federal government needs to chip in to start cleaning up the forest floor and cleaning out all the dead trees that act as kindling. But then there's state-owned forest as well, and so the state, of course, needs to pony up money to be able to do that. But we need to hire more people to take care of that and take better care. And then the last thing is, right now, California has a handful of these aircraft that have night vision, and so it only has a few of these special aircraft that can fight fires in the middle of the night. And so right now, when there's a big raging fire, that most of the time that fire, the fight against the fire shuts down when it gets dark because nobody can see. So we need to spend more money, buy more of these special night vision aircraft, so we can continue to fight that fire 24/7 and put it out before it expands even more. When you fight a fire in the middle of the night, it's usually a little bit more moist in the night, and it's a little bit colder, so it's probably a little easier to control it, but only if you're actually fighting it. So I think we need to spend some resources, buy more of those night vision aircraft.
Okay. Take one more here question for you. It's a big one. It's the migration of businesses out of the state and people leaving the state seems to be a big issue with a lot of people. Could California be doing something different to make the environment a little more accommodating, or should we? Maybe that's just the natural state of things, kind of ebbs and flows. What's your view on that?
Yeah, it's a big issue. Not only businesses, but people moving out of the state because it's too expensive, and so businesses are leaving because it's not a very business friendly state right now. The taxes are very high, the regulations are through the roof for businesses, and the cost of living is so high that people have to pay their employees a high wage to be able to retain them. And so of those three, I don't think we should lower taxes on businesses, because we need that revenue to be able to do the things we want to do in California and fund all the stuff we want to fund. But I was reading some magazine a couple of weeks ago that was saying California is the third worst state as far as business regulation, how friendly the regulations are to businesses. That needs to change. If we could make it so that you could cut some red tape so that businesses didn't have all these hoops to jump through, it would be a lot easier for businesses to run efficiently in California. And I think so that's one of the first things we need to look at is reducing the bureaucracy and the regulations on businesses to make it easier for them so they want to stay. And then the other thing is, this is a whole separate issue, but cost of living needs to decrease in California. And if cost of living decreases, employers are able to pay salaries that hold on to jobs without having to continually increase the salaries to be able to stay, which would keep the businesses in California. So as far as the cost of living, that's a function of a few of the factors are the income tax here is very high and the housing prices are very high. And so if I'm in favor of getting rid of state income tax on the first 150,000. Can I keep going?
Sure.
So the first 150,000 of income, and what that would do is it would free up a lot of money for the middle class. They'd be able to take home more, and they'd be able to afford to live a working wage. And to make up for that shortfall, I would raise the marginal tax rate on people who make 2 million or more, and that would more than make up for the difference of revenue that's received by the state. And then housing prices, housing is a whole nother issue, but really that's supply and demand. I think we should make more houses. There's not enough supply right now to meet demand, so the prices are through the roof. more houses includes like building them faster and opening up some of the public lands so there's more area to build on, cut the red tape so people can build faster, and then make public housing. If there's more public housing, you get a lot of these homeless off the streets and into a place, and overall the amount of houses goes up. So the supply is going up, the demand is the same, but the price comes down, makes it more affordable to live here. And then back to the original question, makes it so businesses are able to retain their employees better.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Any concluding thoughts for us before we drop off here? Anything else you'd like your voters to know about you? In particular, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find you? If they want to support you, where do they go?
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that stands out for me is I'm the only physician on this ballot. And I think it's important to have somebody during the pandemic that can make decisions, medical decisions on what to do as far as COVID. And then I've got the rest of the background supports my ability to effectively lead. And then as far as getting a hold of me, it's www.ross4gov.com is my website. The campaign phone number is 619-883-3599. And I respond to emails at ross4gov@gmail.com. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here today. Appreciate your comments. And with that, good luck in the race.
Thanks, it's my pleasure.